Good evening and welcome to the Porsche Carrera Cup Deutschland series here at Spa. Round 3 of the championship. I am Tom Cans doing solo comms this evening, but we should be in for a brilliant couple of races lined up as qualifying has just reached its conclusion. And the first race will be 20 minutes long, the same duration for race number 2, except the top 10 finishes of race number 1 will be reversed. Let's have a look at the grid for the first race of tonight. It is Dennis Blocker on pole position, and alongside him is the Brit Jones, part of the gold class, and it's Jan Zoutevella in third place to the Francorchamps. Then it's Horn in 5th position, followed by Wagner, and it's Stratton and Veldhoven on row number 4. Marco Kirkman and Metzler are on row number 5, and it's Oz and Verla on the 6th row of the grid. Looking further down the order, we can just see that is Roel Vander in 13th position. It's Justin Van Densen in 14th, and then we've got the likes of Keze, Sekol, Hansen, Koy, Vyers and Kuiper, the 20 drivers who are in attendance for tonight. And we just wait for the start of this one, and we should be good to go. Of course, with it being Spa, won't be many laps for the drivers to get round. I'm sure they'll put on some very, very good racing nevertheless. And we're just waiting for a handful of drivers to get onto the grid, and once they are on the grid, we'll be good to go. Of course, these Porsches, lovely machines. Porsche 911 GT3s, I think these are. And I'm sure the drivers do love competing around in these beautiful beasts. And I'm just waiting for the lights to appear in a moment. I'm still waiting on a few drivers to get onto the grid right now. And the lights are coming on, and we're going up for the first race of 2. We've got 1 light on, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Lights are on. Lights off. It's go. And it's a good start from the pole sitter. We're just looking to see how the second place man gets on as he looks to the inside. That is Jones on the inside of Blocker going into La Source, but it is Blocker who leads the way in the 7-9. It's Jones in second place. Zoutevella has kept hold of third position, and it's Francorchamps who won one of the races at Imola a couple of rounds ago. He's in 4th place, and it's Horn, Wagner, Stratton, Kirkman, Veldhoven and Vander round out the top 10 so far as they make their way through, rally on for the first time. No dramas, it seems. It looks like all 20 drivers have got through safely as they all make the sprint up the climb through the Camel Straight. There's a spinner at the back, though. It looks like Metzler has gone round, and Verla, I think, has been affected as well. So Metzler looks like he's out already. You can see the drivers just filtering their way through Lake Concon. There is Verla getting tagged round. I think he was already going here. He was going into the Armco on the right-hand side. Someone else had spun just ahead of him, and in avoidance, he couldn't do anything to get out of the way. So that's his race heavily compromised, and Metzler is back in pit lane already. The top 3 remaining in the same positions as where they were on the grid. And in 4th place, in the gold class, is Van Horn, who is again this evening. And looking further down there, looks like someone else has hit trouble. It looks like Coy has ended up in the wars. And Raymond Coy has gone no further in this one. And we'll get updates as to what's been going on with him. The drivers are just going through campus and stuff. There is Roman Coy. I think he might have had contact. Oh no, it hadn't had contact. I think it was just an off-track excursion in avoidance. It was further on around the lap where he got caught up in some shenanigans. But we'll get more on that in a little bit. But we see Robert Van Horn running in 4th position, just in front of Wagner, who's in the same class as where he is. Milo Wagner, that is, who is looking to make an impression on this race so far. Looking at the biggest gainers from all of this, Vyers and Kuiper have made up 6 positions each. Sikorsky's moved in front of Van Horn now into 5th place, so he's a man on the move. 1 lap is done, and the leaders are beginning to stretch out the margin. Of course, Dennis Blocker, who's part of the gold class, presumably, as well as Jan Zoutevella. All are making their way down the hill, and Stratton is the highest of those in the silver. He's just moved in front of Van Horn into P6 overall. So he's beginning to make his way up the order. 2 drivers out already. Coy and Metzler are the ones to have gone no further. Now the yellow flag on the timing pages, in case you're new to iRacing, is that the drivers have slowdowns. Now that means they need to slow down to counter that, otherwise they could end up taking a penalty. There's Robert Van Horn in the pink livery, going through Les Combes and Malmedy. And it's down the hill towards Beau Rivage before they head towards the sections of Porn, La Fagne, Campus and Stavelot. Further back we can see Bram Veldhoven, part of the bronze class, running in 12th position. He's just been passed by Roel van der. He's moved up to P11. Vyers has moved in front of Veldhoven now. You can see going through on the inside towards Porn corner. And that's the driver in the silver class going through on the man in the bronze class. And you have to go a long way back to find Akezi, who's running in 14th position. He has got Kuiper for company. So those two are in a battle along with the man directly behind them, who's running in 16th position. That is Birkin Oz. Just over 7 cents is the margin between the leader and the man in second position. And Aaron Jones on the tail of Dennis Blocker as they head towards Blanchimont. And there's the bus stop chicane, which closes out the lap here at Spa-Francorchamps. This layout has been around since 2007. Of course, home of the Belgian Grand Prix, the permanent home of the Belgian Grand Prix since 1985. The last venue other than Spa to host the Belgian Grand Prix was in Zolder the year before. But since then, it's been Spa every time the Belgian Grand Prix has been contested. Fast up of the race from Wagner in 4th position. With 2 minutes 17 dead. So he's a man closing on the leaders. Fernand Wagner is in that blue and white livery, just in the background there behind the top 3. There we see Blocker, Jones, Zouteveld and Wagner going up the hill through Radion. And it's through the Kemmel Straight, where Jones will get a good slipstream on Blocker, and he's going to the inside. Blocker doesn't even bother to defend the position, and it's Aaron Jones who takes over leadership. And on lap number 3, he is the man at the head of the pack. It looks like Robert Van Horn has got back up into 5th position since he was overtaken earlier by Sikorsky, but he's now back ahead of Sikorsky in their fight over P5. Marco Kirkman is the next man behind in P7. There's a long queue of cars behind Van Horn, thinking of it. So a good race nevertheless so far. Now down the hill they come. Past Porn corner. And Jones will be contemplating about when to defend. It's essentially a game of chess every time they go through the Kemmel Straight. As to whether the driver in the lead wants the driver in second place to go by him. And it looks like Aaron's got some supporters in the live chat. Matt Caruana saying unleashing a masterclass. And it was a fantastic move. It was. But I think it was planned from Dennis Blocker's point of view. But we'll see later. Looks like we've got a third driver out of the race now as well. Verla has gone back into pit lane. Although having said that, Coy, who ended up in the first lap mayhem, has made his way back onto the circuit. So he's just wanted to get some more mileage in there before race number 2 comes around. And this is Bas van Strutten, who's gone off the circuit at Campus and has lost time and places as a result. There are your top 4 in your picture. Jones leading Blocker, leading Zouteveld, leading Wagner. Sikorsky has got in front of Van Horn, although they're literally side by side of each other, so we may want to go into that battle to see how they go on. There is Sikorsky right on board. That's Van Horn, who always comes together there, look, with Franson on the exit of Radion. It looks like the latter had just gone into the barrier, so Franson in the barrier in the Arco. Very unfortunate for him. And that's his race effectively over. What a shame. We'll get another look at that. And we're looking at Raoul van der Sant going through the bus stop chicane. Did he get tagged by someone? Didn't quite see on that one. But there is the incident. That's Connor Franson who's just gone into the barrier. That was the aftermath of the contact. So we'll get maybe another look of how he's managed to do that. And either way, it's race over for him. And so we carry on as we are. There are the top four. Sikorski's back in front of Robert Van Horn for 5th position. And Marco Kirkman is run about another second off. So it's a three-way fight in that respective battle. And it's Justin van Densen in 8th place. And then in 9th is the man running in the bronze class. That is Bran Veldhoven. There he is, the highest of the bronze drivers in this race. The nearest rival to him, according to the timing tower, that would be Kuiper, who's running in 15th overall. There is Kuiper, who's made up positions at the start, but I think he is beginning to drop back now. The only drivers behind him are Yomi Telkola and Verla, who is a long, long way back from these. And the leaders again, starting lap number 5. It's likely it's going to be a 9-lap race with the way this is going so far. And Blocker will be contemplating when to go for it here. It won't get many chances to send it at Lecom because of the nature of Spa, with it being a long lap. And there is Milo Wagner. And we'll just switch to Jan Zoutevella. Going towards Lecom, and there's no way through yet for Jan Zoutevella, so he decides to just wait back for now. Renik Sikorsky, who there's another 6.5 seconds adrift from this quadruplet. He's hoping to just get back into the action, and Robert Van Horn will be hoping he can get involved in this because he's losing too much time being in that particular squabble for 5th position. And just to remind you, top 10 finishes of race number 1 will be reversed for the second one. The duration of race number 2 will be exactly the same. So we expect a lot of dicing over the course of that particular 20 minutes, but more on that later. And you can just see Coy going over the line, setting his personal best up of the race so far. He's a long way off these. He's a couple of laps behind after his shenanigans earlier. There he is, Roman Coy. We'll be using this as a test session just to understand the car a little bit more. There we go, back to the leaders. And Jones is now under attack from Blocker and Zoutevella coming towards the bus stop chicane. To the outside goes Blocker. Zoutevella thought about going for it, and Wagner, well, he's happy to just take the best seat in the house and watch everything unfold ahead of him. At the moment, no way through just yet. I wouldn't expect any of these to make a move until the final lap of the race, or maybe the lap before. There's a change for position between Strutton and Akezi for 13th. Actually, Akezi has been passed. He's looking to repass Strutton into La Source. He's on the inside, but it's not the ideal line to take for the exit. And back to the leaders, and there we see Zoutevella in the blue and white going to the inside at Malmedy on Blocker, and he looks to have found a way through. He will have the inside line for Bruxelles. And there was a think there from Wagner, who thought about going on the pair of them, but there was just simply not enough room for all three to go through the corner at the same time. And I think Zoutevella did the right thing to just back out of it and try again. Chevrolet Racing's going in saying, I think they're working together. I think you could be right on that one. I think he's referring to Aaron Jones and Dennis Blocker. Correct me if I'm wrong. This is the 6th lap of the race. And Spa, once again, producing some quality action so far. It isn't just single-seater racing, it's been the home of many endurance races, including the 24 Hours of Spa, which is part of Blancpain GT. Eric van der Poel has won the most times for that particular event, 5 in total. There is Bram Veldhoven running in P9 behind Justin van Densen through Blanchemont corner. Too far back for Veldhoven to think about sending it at the bus stop, so he decides to wait back, wait for another opportunity to come around. And this is Roman Coy, who had already been in the pits earlier. Looks like he's been in the wars again, this time at Eau Rouge, unless he's decided to just park it up. Yeah, I think he's decided to park it up and just save his energy for race number 2 later. I personally don't blame him for that. There's Milo Fagner in 4th position behind Savella, Blocker and Jones. Sikorsky is on his own in 5th position. And Robert Van Horn fight with Marco Kirkman in 6th position. Van Horn's just gone through on Kirkman on the approach to Lecom. And there is Van Horn now in front of Kirkman. I think Marco Kirkman may be part of the Chevrolet Racing crew, judging by the colour scheme of the vehicle itself. He is part of the Chevrolet Racing team. So it's no wonder he's got a supporter or two tuning into the live chat. Robert Van Horn in P6 in that pink livery. He'll be wanting to pull away from Kirkman as soon as he can and start closing in on Sikorsky again. But he is running out of time to make it work for himself. And there is Aaron Jones. Brett under immense pressure at the moment from Dennis Blocker. And the odd teammates after all. So Blocker looks to the outside. He thought about going for a move. Wisely held back. And they go over the line to start lap number 8. Just 2 laps to go in this first race. It looks like Metzler has just popped out of the pit lane now as well. He wants to get a little bit of track time for the second race. If Jones is lucky, he might get a toe off Metzler on the Camel Straight. You could just see Metzler for a brief moment. That's Verla we just saw there. There is Luca Metzler. He will not want to be getting involved in this, and wisely doesn't. So there are the leaders going on by. Rocket in P2. And Sounds Vella and Wagner. And that's Bram Veldhoven to the outside of Van Densen. I think that's a pass for Van Densen. Now, this could have an impact on who will end up on reverse grid pole for the second race. The man sitting in 10th position is the man in the silver class. That is Vyers, who's just directly behind these. And the latest we can tell you involving Amici Ikezi on the exit of Radion. He backed it into the barrier. And I do hope he had managed to continue after that, because he did tap the barrier twice. Of course, he has lots of time as a consequence. Bram Veldhoven still in P9. Fires will be happy to be where he's at, and he's got a good cushion over Roel van der Sant. And it looks like Coy and Metzler, well, Coy's now back on the circuit again. Just try and get maybe a fast lap or two before this race is over. Not that it'll impact these, though, as they are about to start the final lap of the race. The white flag is being waved. Now, will Dennis Blocker decide to go for it on the Camel Straight? This will be the last chance for him to send it there. Or will he be thinking more about the bus stop chicane? Because that is the last braking zone on the circuit. Going towards Eau Rouge and up through Radion. It's quite a long way back here is Blocker, so I think Jones might be all right this time around. You can see how much the slipstream is having an effect. Jones goes to the inside, Blocker will go to the outside line. He'll be the later of the two on the brakes. It's Jones who holds on. And now Blocker is having to switch his attention to Zoutevella on the exit before they go through Malmedy. But it looks like Jones may have this one sewn up unless Blocker can send a last gasp dive at the bus stop chicane. Down towards the left-hander of turn 9. Veldhoven has ended up crashing out of the race somewhere. And we're going to see very quickly, he lost it on the exit of Radion. Car terminally damaged, and he went no further. So now that promotes Roel van der Sant up to 10th place, which would give him reverse grid pole for race number 2. So through Campus and now Stavelot for the last time. Can Blocker get the exit he needs to be within range to attack Jones? Zoutevella will be waiting in the wings. Wagner won't be able to do anything about these now. He's too far back to do anything about the top 3. So it all comes down between Jones, Blocker and Zoutevella. It looks like Jones has done enough. There was a little wide there from Blocker. He was lucky not to get a slowdown for that. Otherwise, he would have had to let Zoutevella go on by. But out they come out of the bus stop chicane for the last time. It's Aaron Jones who's going to take victory in race number 1. And it's going to be a drag race to the line between Dennis Blocker and Zoutevella. Who got it between the pair of them? It's Blocker by 27 thousandths of a second. Dennis Blocker finishes second ahead of Jan Zoutevella. Wagner in 4th place ahead of Franek Sikorsky, with Robert Van Horn and Marco Kirkman in 6th and 7th. They've got the likes of Justin Van Densen, Vyers and Roel van der Sant. He will be on reverse grid pole for race number 2. And there's actually a time penalty being dished out to Akezi. That's contact between Bas van Straten and Oz, and that was not really on from Oz in my point of view. It looks like he just barged him out of the way to gain that position, so there may be words after. And then we just wait for the likes of Kuiper, Tokola, Akezi and Verla to head over the line. And then we can run down on the race run result. There is a warm-up session before race number 2. To give the drivers a little bit of a breather, get a drink or something before we go for 20 minutes of action again in the second race. It will be a more interesting affair than the first one, I can guarantee you that. And Verla will move up a position at the expense of Akezi, because Akezi's time penalty that will be worth 40 seconds will drop him down a position. And Coy gets over the line in 18th position, but I don't know if he'll be classified as a finisher, to be honest with you. Let's have a rundown on the result for the first race here at Spa in the Porsche Carrera Cup Deutschland series. And it is Aaron Jones who took victory ahead of Dennis Blocker, with Jan Zoutevella in 3rd position. And in 4th place, that would be Milo Wagner. In 5th position is NXTGP. Robert Van Horn in 6th place. I'm just waiting for the results screen to appear so we can quickly run down on the rest of those that did make it to the checker flag. But in the meantime, the warm-up session has reached its conclusion. Oh, sorry, not the warm-up session. The first race has reached its conclusion. We just started the warm-up session now, which will only be 5 minutes, no more than that. And then the drivers will be geared up for race number 2. But it's Roel van der Sant who will be on reverse grid pole for later on. We'll see how he will fare during the course of it. And it's Marco Koopman who was P7 in that first race. Justin van Densen was 8th. Vyers 9th. Roel van der Sant was in P10. Oz was in 11th, followed by Van Straten. And it's Kuiper 13th. Tokola 14th. And it's Verler in 15th place ahead of Ikezi, whose time penalty dropped him down. Veldhoven didn't make it to the chicken fight. Koi did, and Metzler did. But Franson was out on lap number 1. You can see some drivers just getting a little bit more mileage, making the most of this warm-up session. In particular, Birkin Oz, the Turkish driver in the silver class. Of course, was fine with Stratton at the end. I think that silver class win may be looked into, because it did look rather clumsy, the way he went into the last chicane to go by Van Straten before the line. But I won't speculate. So I'm just running about a couple of minutes away before we do end up finishing this warm-up, unless all the drivers are back in the pit lane. And if that's the case, then we can suppose we can get race number 2 up and running. But of course, Spa, as I've already mentioned, home of the Belgian Grand Prix this year and next, but it won't be in 2028 or in 2030. And but it will be on the calendar in 2029 as part of its rotational system with Barcelona. Do feel free to get involved in the live chat. Some people in the live chat very happy for Aaron Jones to take that victory. I mean, he did deserve it, to be honest with you. He made the move stick, and he ran with it, really, despite the amount of pressure that Dennis Block had put on him in the final laps. And Matt Caruana just... he can't exactly get over Jones taking victory. Of course, there is a second race for him to try and make it a double. And of course, the calendar for the Porsche Carrera Cup Deutschland. We begun at Imola, and then we went to the Red Bull Ring, which we weren't able to get a broadcast for, unfortunately. The Spa tonight is off to Zandvoort in a couple of weeks, and then it's Nürburgring on the 9th of April, Sachsenring on the 16th, and then we conclude at Hockenheim on the 23rd. A lot of brilliant circuits for the series to race at between now and towards the end of April. So Birkenholz is the only driver on circuit by the looks of it. But it feels like he may have gone back into the pit lane. No, he is on circuit as he goes through Fanya. And the warm-up session is at an end now, or should be coming to an end. Oz is back in pit lane. And so we should be transitioning over into the second race. And once we are, we can run down on the grid. Here is the grid. Ralf van der Sant on pole position with Vyers alongside. It's Justin van Densen in third place ahead of Marco Kirkman. Robert Van Horn and Frank Sikorsky round out the top 6 on the grid. Then we've got Milo Wagner and Jan Zelzavella on road number 4, followed by Dennis Blocker and the race winner in the first one, that is Aaron Jones. And then we've got the likes of Birken Oz, Van Strutten in 11th and 12th. And we've got the likes of Kuiper, Turkulin, Verla, Akezi, Veldhoven, Coy, Metzler, and the last driver on the grid being Franson in P20. Everyone should be on the grid. Just waiting on 3 more drivers. They've only got a maximum of 2 minutes from the moment the session transitions, and then when the 2 minutes are up, that's when the red lights can automatically appear. But it looks like everyone is on the grid. It looks like those that aren't will be starting from the pit lane. Here we go. 5 lights are on.
Green flag, green flag.
Lights off, it's go. They all seem very, very slow away. And absolute mayhem, the leader didn't look like he was ready. Terrible, terrible start for Ralf van der Sant, who got absolutely punted by someone behind. And the man taking advantage of it is Justin van Densen, up from third place into the lead. It's Marco Kirkman in second place, with Frank Sikorsky taking advantage as they go side by side. It's 3 wide on the approach to Eau Rouge. And it all looks like they are behaving themselves through that particular part of the course. But some drivers didn't even look like they were ready. Either they stalled it, had technical issues, or whatever reason, they just didn't get going. Plenty of drivers affected from that. Robert Van Horn was affected. Milo Wagner was affected in that. And Dennis Blocker as well has got damage. So he'll need to come in at the end of this lap to get that repaired. So through Malmedy and to Bruxelles, we'll get a replay of it. That is Ralf van der Sant, who didn't get going, and he got punted by Milo Wagner. I think someone else hit him first. It might have been Wagner first, actually. Well, it was Van Horn hit him first, and then Wagner followed suit. And that wasn't the only drama that we saw, because 2 more drivers got involved in an incident of their own. That is Robert Van Horn, whose handling would have been affected. And down the hill they come towards Fanya. Move from Aaron Jones, up from 10th to 3rd already. Great start from him, who is wasting no time in making his way up the order. We've effectively got 5 drivers in the pit lane or out of this race already. So we lost Ralf van der Sant, Robert Van Horn, Milo Wagner, Kuiper didn't even start, and Franson didn't start either. Blocker is the only driver with damage who's still going at the moment, but I wouldn't be at all surprised if he made his way into the pit lane, because there's no way he can carry on with that amount of damage. There is Roman Coy on the exit of Stavelo, getting on the gravel, but keeping the car pointed in the right way. And look at Aaron Jones on the attack on Marco Kirkman. To the outside goes Jones into La Source. Kirkman holds his line, but he won't want to give him the inside line back for when they get to Eau Rouge. Down the hill they come. And Blocker does make his way back to the pit lane. Hopefully it won't be too long before he goes back out on circuit. But there we look at Aaron Jones into the slipstream of Marco Kirkman. Up the hill, through the Camel Straight, towards Les Combes. And it looks like there's a spinner on the exit of Blanchimont that looked like Verla, who has gone round. We'll see exactly what's happened. Yeah, it is Verla. I don't know if he collided with someone, whether he just spun fire of his own accord. Either way, it looks like he's carried on, but he's got damage actually, has Verla, so he probably will need to come back into the pit lane in on this lap. A lot of drivers already in the wars. Aaron Jones up into second place. Blocker is still in the pit lane. It looks like he's deciding to go no further in this one, unfortunately. So that's his race run. At least that will allow Veldhoven to move up a couple of positions. He's showing that he's a lap down, but I'm not sure if he's actually a lap down, is Veldhoven. I might be wrong with that. I'll wait for the timing page to update itself, but I'm staying with the leaders with Jan Zouteveld, who's up in 4th place behind Marco Kirkman. Coming out of Stavlo, second time in this race. He holds back and decides to go for it as of when it best pleases him. He's going to the inside, is Zouteveld. He thought about it. Forces Kirkman to miss the apex. Zouteveld will get a good run on him on the approach to La Source. Right aboard with Zouteveld as they go through. Fast top of the race from Sikorsky, as he hopes to hold off Jones between now and the checkered flag. Veldhoven does go up the order a couple of places, and the time total has updated, so he is on the lead lap, is Veldhoven. But there we see Kirkman being passed by Zouteveld on the Camel Straight, and there we see Zouteveld going through and up into 3rd place ahead of the Dutchman. It was a great pass all round, and Verla has made his way back into the bit, and Vyers looks like he's out as well. There is Verla, who I think, with the damage he had stopped on the exit of campus yet. I think it was, once he had that spin, he decided enough was enough. Then back to the pit lane. And there is Vyers. It's over at Radion. Oh, he drops it on the cap. Oh, that's a big, big smash into the barrier for Vans Vyers. And that's another casualty from this race. We are down to 12 runners on lap number 3. Sikorsky managing the gap at the moment over Jones. It is coming down ever so slightly, but there's only 9 laps of racing we're going to have in this, so he's doing well so far. And Jan Zouteveld is a further 1.6 seconds behind. Marco Kirkman is now under attack from Justin Van Densen. You can see those two. Van Densen, part of the Chevrolet racing team. Closing in on Kirkman, going through Blanchemont corner. Won't exactly go for it here, I don't think. Out of the loss, and Akezi has made a move on Metzler, and Coy has got past Birkin Oz for P7. So despite the fact that the number of drivers left in this race are limited, we're still being treated to some very, very good racing. And Jeremy Telcola back in P11, and the next driver behind him is Veldhoven, who is trying to make up for lost time after starting from the pit lane, I believe. And there we see Van Densen on Kirkman. I'm sure they want to be pulling out the slipstream sooner rather than later here, Van Densen. Decides that he didn't want to go for it, which is interesting. It's the old game of chess, then fair enough, but surely wants to be trying to make his way up the order and going after the leaders, considering the attrition that this race has produced so far. It's gone down to 3/10 between the man in the lead and the man in second place. Frank Sikorsky has been passed by Aaron Jones, who's gone by. So Jones has got through just before Pouron, and that's him through into the leader. Might have been Sikorsky letting him going by. Or it might have been a mistake on the exit of the corner before. But either way, Jones has gone on through. And it looks like, unless Sikorsky decides he's got something in response to that, I can't see Jones relinquishing this lead. And Van Straten has ended up in the wars, and Metzler's just gone by. And Bas van Straten, who's not had the best of evenings, has come together with whoever that was that sent it up the inside. So van Straten is back in pit lane. The final corner again, Jones ahead of Sikorsky. And then it's Zoutevella in P3, Kirkman in P4. Under fire from Van Densen. Both drivers producing their personal best laps of the race so far. And then we've got Coy, who's had a much improved second race compared to the first. He's running in 6th place. Metzler and Akesi are still fighting it out for position. It looks like Akesi's another one gone from this. So we've literally lost half the field in this second race, and we're going to see why. This is Amici Akesi with Metzler behind him. And he just went into the barrier. He took too much throttle on the exit and ended up spinning into the barrier. And there we see Van Densen, who's gone on by Kirkman for 4th position. So this was the move. This was coming all along since we got to the rear of his machine about a lap ago. And so the Swiss goes on through, and that's Blocker coming out of the pit lane. They may make up some positions, as could Wagner. So both Milo Wagner and Dennis Blocker are back on the circuit, and they'll want to try and get to the end. So we see the leaders of Jones and Sikorsky in 1st and 2nd. Then it's Jan Zoutevella in 3rd place. Justin Van Densen's another 4.5 seconds off him in 4th place, with Marco Kirkman in 5th. And it's the man who's the leader of the bronze category. Roman Coy, who's just been passed by Birkin Oz. So it's Birkin Oz who's gone through for position overall. And that's a spin. That's a spin for... Is that Van Densen? It is. Van Densen has spun on the exit of Blanchimont. I don't think he collided with anyone. I think that was a spin via his own accord. But that's lost him 3 positions. Yeah, he spun by himself, did Van Densen, and Kirkman took evasive action. Great driving there from Kirkman to avoid him. There is Van Densen coming back on the inside of Coy, making up for lost time straight away. And there we see Jones in the lead, Sikorsky and Zoutevella all in the fray for the win. Marco Kirkman is a long way back from these, run about 7 seconds adrift. And Veldhoven is now in a battle with Jeremy Telkola for 9th position. Veldhoven does get by Telkola, so that's a position gain at least for the Dutch pilot, going through ahead of his compatriot. And Zoutevella has gone through on Sikorsky for P2. So Sikorsky has got by Sikorsky for 2nd place. That must have been done on the approach to Pouhon. We're going to see the overtake. Oh, it's because Sikorsky ran wide at Pouhon. So that's why Zoutevella went on through for position. Now he's the man going after the leader, Aaron Jones, of which he was in the fight with him in that first race. The buffer that Jones had that stopped Zoutevella from challenging him was Dennis Blocker. Few laps to go once they head over the line. We've very much got a race on our hands now. It's Jones leading Zautavella, who's posting a new fast lap of the race. I believe he's the first driver today to reach into the 2-minute 16s. But now he's got a chance to really go for it here. And Verla has rejoined the circuit. So I think he may be in a little bit of a fight with Blocker and Wagner for position. They should move up ahead of Van Struten and Ikezi in the order. There we see Zautavella thinking about it with Jones at Les Combes. No way through just yet. There's a slowdown for Roman Coy running in P7, so he will need to slow down a little bit to get that off, otherwise he'll end up being penalised. And now Sikorsky's fighting about putting Zautavella under immense pressure through Pohon. And apparently there's a pit stop over Wagner. I don't know if he's gone straight back to the pit lane, whether he's had enough. Verla has carried on. Blocker has moved in front of Van Struten and Ikezi. We'll focus on the leaders for the time being. Zautavella in P2. Jones still leading. Just 2 more laps to go at the end of this one. You can see Zautavella running wide, as does Sikorsky, pushing ever so hard to stay in touch with Jones, but them running wide has given Jones some breathing space. Sikorsky is taking advantage of Zautavella's error to go on through into P2. I think Zautavella may have something to say on that, as he attempts to come back around the outside at the bus stop. Now out of the last corner they come. It's game on for the win. Kirkman in 4th position, who's on his own now. Birkenhaus is run about 5 seconds off him. There's no way Oz will make up that amount of ground in 2 laps. Now Veldhoven, who had got by Turcola not too long ago, is run about 7 seconds off Metzler. Metzler's just posted a 2-minute 19.9. Veldhoven has posted a 2:19.2, so only run about 7 to 8 tenths quicker than what Metzler had done on the previous lap. And there is Van Densen running in P5. Has got by Birkenhaus, but he's got to slow down as Van Densen because he put all 4 wheels over the white line. And he's having to get out of the way. Oh, that was a back marker getting out of the way, sorry. And so Van Densen is still in front of Oz. He wouldn't have wanted to allow him go through at Les Combes. He wanted to try and get the slowdown off in the corners. It looks like he's having a tricky time getting that off. He won't want to leave it too long because otherwise he'll have issued a time penalty. And on a track like this one, with it being a rather short race, it's not exactly what you want. He's got it off now as Van Densen, so he can carry on with his race. One more lap to go at the end of this one, and then we see a battle between Van Densen, Birkenhaus, Roman Coy. This is a 3-way battle. Coy on the rear of Oz. I think all 3 of these are in different classes to each other, so it's very much pride at stake, really. And there is Jones, Sikorsky, and Zautavella. I'm amazed actually that iRacing has allowed drivers to put all 4 wheels over the white line at that particular corner of Blanchemont, but drivers aren't complaining. As they go through La Source, and Sikorsky taking a wide line. Now, he won't have done that by accident. I think he's trying to gather as much exit speed as possible, but that has allowed Zautavella to close in. He's just not close enough to make a move. And this is the last lap of the race, and this will be the last chance for Sikorsky to really send it. Even so, he's still too far behind Aaron Jones at the top of the hill through Kemmel Straight. No way through at the moment for any of the top three. No change there. Kirkman's now 13 seconds off the lead. Dennis Blocker looks like he's going to get P11 at least from this. And that's a change between Roman Coy and Birkin Oz for P6. And it looks like Coy may be attacking Van Densen at the same time. There we see these three. There's the Chevrolet racing driver, Justin Van Densen from Switzerland. And then we look at Birkin Oz thinking about maneuver on Coy. And they come down the hill through Fania for the last time. Can Sikorsky get the exit out of Stavelo he needs to really send it on Jones, who's pretty much had it his own way this evening, but it's not done and dusted just yet. So through Stavelo for the last time. Can Sikorsky get the run? He cannot go too far out wide. He doesn't go too far out wide. And if he can just stay in the slipstream, he might just send it. He won't want to be too close through Blanchimont either. Here we go. To the bus stop for the last line. Zoutevella is getting on the axe as well. He's going to go for it on Sikorsky. If he can get alongside, he may just send it into the second part. They bust a chicane, but the two collide, and Zoutevella is through into second place. Aaron Jones wins at Spa again. He's done the double here, but through controversial circumstances, Sean Zoutevella comes through in second place, and it's Ferenc Sikorsky in P3. No, he did get alongside, did Zoutevella. Yeah, I think Sikorsky was entitled to more room. I think once you got your car alongside like that, you are entitled to more room. So there'll be some discussions afterwards between Zoutevella and Sikorsky, I would have thought. Marco Kirkman has come through in P4 ahead of Justin Van Densen, with Roman Coy and Birkin Oz in P6 and 7. Metzler finished in 8th ahead of Veldhoven, with Jaime Telkola in 9th place. And we just wait for Dennis Blocker to get over the line. At least he'll pick up some points nevertheless for the sake of the championship. And so that is race over, and we can run down on the result here at Spa. Aaron Jones takes victory with Jan Zoutevella in second position. Ferenc Sikorsky in P3, followed by Marco Kirkman, with Justin Van Densen and Roman Coy in 5th and 6th. Birkin Oz in P7, followed by Metzler, Veldhoven, Telkola and Blocker made it to the end despite the fact that they were laps down. We lost the likes of Verla, Akezi, Van Strutten, Vyers, Milo Wagner, Rolf van der Sante got hit at the start, who didn't even get going. Robert Van Horn didn't make it to the end after colliding with him. The other two drivers that we lost in that race, they will had been. We'll just go back to the stream. They were Kuiper and Franson. Franson didn't even get going. I don't think Kuiper did either. Well, after 2 races, we've been treated to some brilliant action here at Spa. And of course, there'll be more to come in the very next round we do. We've been to Imola, we've been to the Rebel Ring, and today we've been over at Spa. The next round of the championship will, of course, be the Dutch home in Zandvoort in a couple of weeks' time. Thank you very much to everyone that's tuned in. Do make sure you like and subscribe. And thank you to everyone that's been tuning into the chat. And thank you to the drivers for putting on a very, very good show here at Spa. We'll do it over again in 2 weeks' time in Zandvoort. I am Tom Cairns, and I'll speak to you again soon when the Porsche Carrera Deutschland returns. And it's good night.